Hey guys, welcome to One Resource Floating. We have here Ben
Yo.
and Kayla and myself, the 86. My camera's a little bit blurry. I just moved, so bear with me, and hopefully I'll have that fixed in the future. But
Mhm.
today we are starting a new series where we're going to talk about heroes and how to play them effectively. And we're going to start with someone who's very near and dear to these two players' hearts, and that is Dorinthea. Tell us about playing Dorinthea a little bit, Kayla.
Dorinthea is the best. She is the warrior hero from Welcome to Wrath, which was the first set to be released. And she has 4 intellect, 20 health as a young one, 4 intellect, 40 health as a old hero. And her special ability is that if your weapon hits, you can attack with it a second time that turn. Of course, you have to have the keyword go again, or otherwise an action point to do so. But she pairs in perfectly with Dawnblade, which is the token warrior weapon from Welcome to Wrath. And it is base 3 attack, but it has a great just ability of if you hit with Dawnblade and it's the second hit or more on that chain link, it gets a +1 counter. Now, if you don't hit with Dawnblade on later turns with that counter, you will lose it. But with Dorinthea's ability, you can just keep trying. There are cards that let you swing more with it. Like, you have every opportunity to make this sword the biggest and best sword for warriors.
Kasai would like to have a word, I'm sure. But no, definitely, Dorinthea is someone who's really strong, definitely in the Blitz matchup, and especially with Everfest, I think she's got some support to make her really strong in the classic constructed format as well. So, talking about Dorinthea here, let's build a deck. What do you guys think is a good representation of red, yellow, blue? Like, what kind of pitch should I put in there? What should I expect to do?
I mean, you're gonna want mostly reds because the reds she runs are all mostly pumping three, which is just a so for every three you pump, they have to block or take essentially. So reds are important to push damage, and then you want the blues to kind of pay for all your sword swings, all your reactions. So you probably want, let's see, what do we say, 60 to 75% red probably is a good amount, and
Yeah.
then throw in the rest blues, and then for yellows you just want to just the yellows that really make it a difference. Like I said, the Iron Tongue Determination, a couple of Majestics that will probably turn the tide in the fight. But other than that, you don't really want to run yellows too much because you either just want resources or pure damage. That's it. You don't need a middle ground.
And what do you think, Kayla? Are you kind of in the same boat?
Yeah, your key cards for her are going to be your Steelblade Supremacy, Spoils of War, Sharpened Steels, Warrior Valor, and those in reds are going to give you the most power to pump your Dawnblade swing, which just makes it harder for them to block, which gives you that chance to attack again. Now, there are yellows that are key cards, such as Iron Song Determination. It gives your sword Dominate, which means you can only block with 1 card from your hand, which can almost guarantee that hit unless they have armor or something in their arsenal. And then Sinking Steel Blade is just the one card you don't want to see when you're playing against a Dorinthea, because if you trigger a keyword for her, which is reprise, she is going to find something to ruin your day. That's all it comes down to. Is that is probably one of the top 3 best cards for Dorinthea is Singing Stillblade. And then, like Ben said, a good amount of blues to where you can get 3 reds per hand, maybe 2 reds and a yellow, and 1 blue to pay for everything you need to do for that.
So what's really key, Kayla mentioned reprise, and I'm just going to elaborate on that. And I'm sorry if this was said, I didn't hear it. The reprise is you defend with a card from hand, reprise is triggered. So if you put something down, that comes into play. There are cards that like buff Dawnblade by +3, and then if you block with a card from hand, then you're essentially not having a good time because reprise comes in on a card and makes it even scarier. And Dawnblade, like was said before, it gets a counter on it if it hits twice per turn. So it's not something you want to let slide. Like, you know what, I can eat Dawnblade this turn. And then you eat Dawnblade the next turn, and all of a sudden it's 5 damage before it's buffed. And I think that, it's a pretty good consensus, and that, every card in Dorinthea's hand, you imagine it's 3 more damage coming in. That it's all reactions. There's no attacks coming in unless you're in draft. Then they might get something. I've seen, people like to run Scar for a Scar in draft. I've seen that, and some other things. But typically in a made deck, you're not going to see stuff like that. It's all going to be coming at you, just waiting to hit.
Now, there is one card that Dorinthea would run as an attack, and that's just Nourishing Emptiness. Simply because the way her deck is built, it's action cards or reactions or defense reactions. Therefore, if you have one Nourishing Emptiness in the deck and you play it, it's going to have Dominate based on the card text, which I'm sure you'll bump up on the screen.
Yeah, Nourishing Emptiness has, it's Dominate if there are no cards in your graveyard, correct? Or action cards?
It's
no attack actions.
no
right?
attack action cards in your graveyard. And with Dorinthea, it doesn't happen. Especially if you run one, because your only attack action is it, and it's currently being played against your opponent.
Oh dear. That would be a good card to mix in. Oh man, so strategies for Dorinthea. Say I'm a Dorinthea player and I'm going after someone. First turn, like what ideally am I playing? What ideally am I setting up on my arsenal? Am I gonna have time to even get an arsenal? Like what am I doing as a Dorinthea player?
Do you want to answer first, Ben?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Because, how I play Dory is you play as many buffs as you can that aren't reactions, like Sharpened Steel, Warrior's Valors, etc., and just to make that first strike as scary as possible. So that if they block it just enough, but you're able to get that strike over the top, then that's all you need. Because really what you want, Dawnblade, I feel, you don't want damage as much as you just want the hit itself, because you want those counters. So if you can get those counters going, if you just hit for 1 every time, that's fine. Because those counters are going to get scarier and scarier. So I've done it before. So I've been able to pump a Sword Strike +3, but they weren't going to block it anyways. And I've just saved that for another turn. Because I'm like, I'd rather just use it later to put an arsenal, save it for, I can be a little more defensive. I can make a bigger swing next turn. So the biggest thing is just to get hits. Not necessarily even pure damage. And I think it's the best, most important thing you can do with Dawnblade.
All right, so that would be one thing going into Dorinthea. Like you said, just I want to get those hits. What about, what am I bringing to the table as far as equipment? Like, what are some good things? Let's talk about the head first. Is there anything that you guys recommend besides Skullcap? Because that's pretty much the generic slot in. I have something expensive. Let's put it in here.
If you have the legendary Skullcap, play it. It's gonna be your best to just soak up that damage. If you don't have the legendary, I would run something like Iron Rot Helm or Iron Hide Helm, simply because of the block 1, or pitch 1, block 2. It's still gonna soak up the damage. Yeah, you'll have to get rid of a card, but it'll just give you what you need to survive for a turn.
Perfect. So we have some head options. What about chest options running as Dorinthea? Like what's going to be the best thing? Courage of Blade Hold? I think we can agree on that. I'm going to throw out all the specific fancy ones.
In Blitz, it's hard to beat Courage of Blade Hold.
Yeah.
In CC, you might be able to get, you can get away with Spring Tunic maybe if you want to play more of a long game. But just the one turn in Blitz where you can get Courage off and just push some dumb damage, that's the one turn you usually need to turn the tide of the game completely.
If you have the I will hit 3 times this turn hand, then Courage makes that 3 hits free. And there's nothing better than a free sword. So
going off that, what about any generics that you guys also kind of might recommend?
Uh, Deep Blue, just because it gives the most resources. Um, Depending on who you're fighting, Null Rune armor for any slot is good if you don't have something better for that area. Um, and honestly, when Nourishing Emptiness existed, before Deep Blue existed, I did run Hardened Cross Strap to have a free turn with Nourishing.
Good, good. Let's talk about the arm equipment. What are some good options there?
The legendary choice is easily Brayforge Bracers. Blocks 2, Battle Worn. In the abilities, it's not even incredible, but it's just nice to have the option. It's just your second swing, you could pay a resource and pump at 1, which is sometimes all you need.
Yeah.
But it's there for the block, keep cards in hand.
Cheap Man's version, Gallantry Gold, blocks 1. You do have to destroy it, but your weapon gets +1 for the entire turn. So it kind of does pump Dawnblade more than Bracers, but Bracers are worth it more in the long run because you can block twice with them.
And you can use its effect every turn, too.
That's true. You don't have to destroy them for the effect.
Nope.
Sometimes that damage on the first swing is worth it.
Oh, it is.
And the legs. Last thing is the legs. Coming in, is there a better option than the cheap old reliable?
Refractor Bolters are the best.
It's just
Don't
so
run
good.
anything else. Just run Refractor Bolters.
I think there's an argument if for some reason you want to play a control warrior, which I don't know why you would, that Dynamo is playable. But that's only for if you're really into the control style of warrior, which I have not seen a single deck do. So.
No, I mean, honestly, it's only either good against ninjas or some prism builds if they're focusing more on like the one-hit auras. But then you're only blocking 1 aura, whereas at least if you're blocking 1 of 2 Kodachis, that's half a Kodachi. Bolters are just worth it.
Yeah, no, bolters
100%.
are just...
Plus, there's always just more of the threat of bolters. If you come in with a Dawnblade that doesn't have Go Again, naturally from a card you played before, bolters are threatening your opponent to say, hey, I'm going to come in again with this sword. You better be ready.
And bolters are a May too, right? You don't have to, if you break in, or if you hit and you have something else.
No, it doesn't technically count as a reaction. It's not an action. It's just when your weapon hits, you may destroy these, the weapon gets Go Again. So you can do it after on hit effects. You can just do it when the weapon hits before you pass priority to your opponent.
I do find it funny that's not even a reaction, because I don't think there's like any other equipment that has that kind of trigger to it, where it's just purely hit, you can break this.
Yeah, it's
neat.
unique. Just like Dorinthea. She deserves the best. She is the best.
Oh dear. All right. So we've got all this. We're playing Dorinthea. We're really strong. There probably are some people watching because they want to figure out how to beat Dorinthea. Going up against Dorinthea, do you guys have any strategies or anything that you might recommend?
I mean,
if it's Blitz, don't let her go second. Because she will put on the pressure faster than you can. She is terrifying to go against if she goes second.
Keep her away
Other
from
than that, if it's a naked Dawnblade, take the hit. If it's a second Dawnblade, block it as much as you can.
The second swing's what you have to worry about.
Yeah, the second swing is far more important than the first.
All right. So going in, talking about Dorinthea, we have everything lined up. What about going in? I have strategy. What are the equipments? Are there any good equipments that you play against Warrior? I'm gonna say Heart of Ice because it's gonna help with reactions, defense reactions. But that's just me.
It does slow down the it does slow down the shunt.
It does slow down shunts. Although if it's Lexi, she doesn't really have to worry about shunts. Most warrior players probably wouldn't run shunts against Lexi simply because it doesn't get the full effect. Maybe red ones if you're really worried about that damage, and it does block for 6, is nice. But Sink Belows plus a card from hand would probably be more worth it than paying 2 for a defense reaction. But if you're Heart of Icing, they also have to pay 1 for the Sink Below.
That might be more of a local meta question. I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
in the
like,
big tournaments, I don't see it happening. But if it's worth it in your local area, then it's worth it. I mean,
yeah. I mean, Carrion Husk is really good against Dorintheas, simply
yeah, it is.
because if if a Dorinthea comes in with a second swing for 3 with an attack reaction that gives +3, if they block with Carrion, it's null and void unless you have something else to get it past the 6. Carrion Husk is probably the biggest Dawnblade stopper that I've seen in recent games.
It's rough.
One other thing I like to play, this is going off of equipment and back to cards. If you fall in the elemental camp or maybe some of the guardians, there are definitely tons of cards out there for other classes that essentially things lose and can't gain go again, or they stop go again. So I'm really, it's a hard counter toward Dorinthea. Now, granted, like if you're in a blizzard, she can pay and get by it, but that's still 2 resources out of her hand, and that's going to be very helpful for you.
Yeah, and it also kind of just depends on what her hand looks like. Like, if she has nothing to give Dawnblade Go Again, and you're saying she can't get it, I mean, you're not really stopping her at that point.
She's
I
just
mean, there
gonna
have
throw
been
Dawnblade at you anyways.
yeah, because she'll either be like, all right, I'll make a really big first swing. Oh, I don't have Go Again. It didn't matter. I didn't have anything to give it Go Again.
Well, you have some cards that,
Or,
like, Guardian is a little different, but like Blizzard is an instant, right? So you can play that
Yes.
yeah,
after
but
she gets Go Again.
yeah, but if she has a reaction in hand, she can just say, all right, I'll arsenal that for later.
That's also true.
Yeah.
It's
Giving her
hard
the
to slow
option
her
to
down.
arsenal something might be worse than Go Again.
She's just fighting for the hit. She doesn't care if she doesn't get to go again, as long as she gets a hit.
Yeah.
Now the go
Yeah,
again.
sometimes
hits,
the
but
best Dorinthea stopper is if she has a counter or 2, just block with literally everything. Everything you can. Because if you block 13, chances are she can't really go above 12 with a perfect hand. Of course, there are some exceptions, but blocking as route, yeah. Route. Best card. No, I mean, it's just getting rid of counters is your number one thing to stop Dorinthea. If she has 1 or 2 built up, you need to make sure she can't keep going. So just basically stopping her is your best option. Even if you have like the best hand in the world, it's more important to stop the blade than to try and use all of the cards on your next turn.
I've straight up blocked with Command and Conquers because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, final words here. Anything that you guys want to say about the Dorinthea matchup?
Oh, she's scary, but she's so fun to play.
It really is. She is just like, I mean, she's the hero that really got me going into Flesh and Blood, and that I won the first like event at the store with.
She was
And
the first proper Blitz hero.
yeah, she is. I mean, I feel like people don't give her as much props as she should get now with like ever-changing metas, but she is still like one of the top dogs in my opinion. And of course, there's gonna be people out there like, oh no, she can't keep up with where it's going. And Everfest really changed that, in my opinion. Everfest really is giving her the stuff to keep up with the meta. And to anyone who's looking to build Dorinthea, Arsenal Glint the Quicksilver, Singing Stillblade, or Stillblade Supremacy. Don't arsenal anything else unless it's defense reaction.
All right. Last call.
I mean, I'll keep talking about her all day.
Is
And
it-
don't give
we
me the
could be here
option.
all
I
night.
will talk
Alright.
about her all day.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining in. That's our little spiel on Dorinthea. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. And again, that's been Kayla and 86 with all the bad opinions. And thank you for watching. See ya.